This is Southern Cross Network News.
Another car and a truck collision on the Calder Highway.
And 20 textile workers lose their jobs.
Good evening. A middle-aged woman is in a serious condition in the Bendigo Base Hospital after her sports car and a semi-trailer collided on the Calder Highway. The accident blocked the highway near Elphinstone for almost an hour.
Police say the MGB sports car was travelling south along the Calder Highway when the accident occurred about 1 kilometre north of Elphinstone. It appears the car veered towards the centre of the road and into the path of an oncoming semi-trailer. Police say the transport driver swerved in an attempt to avoid the car, but the 3 rear trailer wheels hit the MG, ripping away most of its driver's side. The woman driver of the sports car was taken by ambulance to Castlemaine Hospital, suffering from facial cuts, head injuries and severe leg injuries. Senior Constable Gavin Alexander says it's not yet known why the car veered towards the transport.
The police will be investigating into the reasons when they're able to interview the driver of the vehicle and find out exactly how it happened and why it happened. Yeah.
The semi-trailer driver was unhurt, although shocked, and his rig suffered only minor damage. The MG was winched onto a tray truck and firemen hosed the road clear of broken glass while motorists waited patiently for the highway to reopen. Senior Constable Alexander says police are still concerned about drivers' attitudes on the highway.
Well, as you can see by the vehicles going past now, we're at an accident scene and they still travel past at a very fast rate of speed, and we would like drivers of vehicles to pay particular attention to their speed on the highway.
The injured woman was treated at the Castlemaine Hospital before being transferred to the Bendigo base, where she's in a serious condition and being treated for multiple injuries.
A leading authority on road accident trauma in Victoria has scoffed at claims that bad roads are to blame for many accidents in country areas. George Lander says driver inexperience is a major cause of Victoria's road carnage.
This horror accident happened at about 8 o'clock last night.
This morning's accident takes the state's road toll to 251.
She's in a serious but stable condition and was expected to undergo surgery today.
Victoria's road toll stands at 665, 80 more than at the same time last year. But while police and politicians consider ways to curb the carnage on our roads, a leading authority on accident trauma says motorists must accept responsibility.
The aggressiveness of drivers here is unbelievable when you compare it with England, Europe, United States, wherever else you drive.
George Lander is a member of 3 road trauma committees in Melbourne. He says the 3 main causes of road accidents are alcohol, speed and driver inexperience. He dismisses claims that bad roads contribute to accidents in country Victoria.
No, it's not the roads that cause these crashes, it's the people who drive the cars that drive on the roads. So don't blame the roads. In the early days, we used to have to cope with roads and we didn't. We survived it.
Mr Lander says Victorians spend $1.5 billion each year caring for the victims of road accidents. He's called on Central Victorians to do their bit by being more disciplined on the roads and obeying road laws.
20 people have been sacked from Bendigo's Perfect Fit clothing factory, and at least another 40 are warned that they too may lose their jobs. Most of the workers sacked today are junior employees who have worked for the company for less than a year. Managing Director Peter McCallum says the company is losing money because of a slump in the retail market. He says the sackings have nothing to do with the company's controversial plans to build a printing factory nearby. Mr McCallum says another 40 people at the factory have been warned that they may also be sacked if they don't improve their performances. The Textile Workers Union is tonight discussing a plan to fight the sackings.
Residents and the National Trust have vowed to fight a second demolition order for the historic music hall at Guildford. The hall has been the centre of a controversy for the past year, and despite the new order, residents say the battle isn't over yet. The 120-year-old music hall was used by miners in the gold rush era. It might have been beautiful then, but now it's little more than a ruin. Since a new hall was built in the 1950s, the old music hall has been neglected. Neglected but not forgotten. For the past year, residents and the National Trust have been fighting a demolition order.
We believe that there is a danger there. The building is obviously propped up and held from collapsing onto the footpath.
The hall's owner, who lives in Daylesford, says he also wants the building demolished, and now it appears he's almost won that fight. The Administrative Appeals Tribunal has upheld the original demolition order. There is one condition of the demolition order, and that is a 6-month reprieve before it's pulled down. That gives residents enough time to come up with the money, possibly $250,000, to restore the building. Residents say it'll be almost impossible to raise that money themselves, but they're not giving up hope.
It's a 19th century music hall, still intact, and in need of repair. I feel that demolition by neglect is no excuse for anybody attempting to sort of pull it down because they don't want to spend any more money on it.
The hall is registered with the Historic Building Council, and the National Trust says it's still hopeful of stopping the demolition.
We'll be lobbying the HBC with the aim of having a grant forwarded to stabilise the building and secure its future.
The public will be asked to help prepare a new plan for Bendigo's future development, but planning consultant Trevor Budge says if the plan is to be viable, a regional development body must be set up.
During the next 30 years, Bendigo may need to cope with as many as 50,000 extra people. Huge pressure will be placed on residential, industrial and commercial areas, recreation and community facilities and transport systems. The Bendigo 2020 plan is being prepared to help guide development during the next 3 decades.
Well, the plan has been commissioned by the Regional Planning Authority and its sub-regional committee has been supervising the plan. We've got a consultant team and we've got planners from the Regional Planning Authority working on it.
Trevor Budge says during the next 30 years, the proportion of old people in the community will nearly double. He says tourism is expected to play a much greater role in the economy and travel time to and from Melbourne will be shortened. Advances in telecommunications may eliminate many of the disadvantages associated with living in the country. To cope with all that, Mr Budge says it's vital that Bendigo has a comprehensive planning board to help implement the 2020 plan.
I think we need to coordinate things a lot better than it's been coordinated in the past. There are a large number of servicing organisations which need to be involved, and as we've been going around government departments, we've found that many of them are looking for this sort of coordination because they need to be able to plan their infrastructure and services many years ahead.
Community input is now being sought to the Bendigo plan, and Mr Budge says a series of public meetings will be held during the next few months.
State National Party leader Pat McNamara has called for the reintroduction of decentralisation, and he's accused the state government of neglecting country Victoria.
Mr McNamara arrived in Swan Hill to address the local branch of the National Party and took no time to spell out the issues he says are crucial to country Victorians: high interest rates, escalating unemployment and decreased government services. He says the government is paying scant attention to the needs of country people. He says with interest rates and the price of metropolitan housing soaring, it's time the government put money back into the country.
I think it's terribly important that we focus on decentralisation, even from an environmental point of view. And we can't allow cities like Melbourne and Sydney to continue at the unchecked growth that they have.
Mr McNamara lashed out at the Kane government's economic policies, which he says have seen unemployment in country Victoria more than double. He says since taking office 7 years ago, country unemployment has gone from 25,500 to 52,500.
I think what we do need is to have a government in Victoria that has a more balanced approach to the whole state and merely doesn't stop at the tram tracks. It's too important an issue to play politics with.
As well, the National Party leader attacked the government over cutbacks to country Victorians, such as police station closures and public service numbers. Mr McNamara says a Conservative government would include a minister whose sole task would be decentralisation and the return of services to country Victorians.
Well, in news ahead, plans for a widespread smoking ban in Maryborough.
And the rising cost of humble fish and chips.
By now, most Epsom telephone subscribers have probably noticed that their phone has a different dial tone. It's the result of Telecom commissioning a $420,000 computerised exchange today in Epsom. District Manager Vin Harper says the exchange will cut call congestion and provide a faster service. A severe shortage of potatoes is threatening to cripple one of Australia's best-loved industries. Fish and chip merchants are struggling to survive as the price of potatoes skyrockets.
George Guskus has been selling fish and chips for 15 years. At his Golden Square shop, he uses 30 50-kilogram bags of potatoes a week, which normally cost $450. At the moment, he's paying $1,500 a week. The price hike is attributed to floods in New South Wales, which wiped out entire potato crops, causing the worst shortage for more than a decade.
They were $14, near the 50, so there's a big margin, you know, in between.
And how long is this expected to last?
Until Easter, I believe.
Fish and chip shops throughout Victoria are feeling the pinch, and prices could rise even further as the potato supply dries up. The shortage isn't only affecting bulk customers. In supermarkets, a 5-kilogram bag sells for nearly $12. The Gooskus family has had to cancel plans for a Christmas holiday because of the shortage.
Well, we can't afford to close this year anyway. The spuds are too expensive, you know. We're just making ends meet at the moment. And we can't put our minimum price at $2, you know. We're already getting complaints from the people.
Smoking is set to be banned in the Maryborough City offices after recommendations from the Council's Health Committee. Council is also considering a smoking ban in all Council-owned premises, including sporting complexes and the Town Hall. Smoking has already been banned in government offices like the Department of Labour. Smokers must confine their habit to designated areas for the safety and comfort of their colleagues. Maryborough City Council has drawn up a draft policy for a similar system, making smoking off-limits in all offices and council vehicles. A staff committee of smokers and non-smokers will be set up to designate the times and conditions of smoking in the staff room. There's only 5 out of 25 people at Maryborough City offices who smoke, and Richard Pekin says those people have resigned themselves to the ban.
I suppose that they have some objections to it, but they see that it is inevitable that they will not be able to smoke at their desks.
Richard Pekin says prospective employees will be warned of the City Council's smoking ban, but he says smokers will not be disadvantaged when applying for a job. Existing employees will be encouraged to give up.
The council will also support those people in undertaking courses at the community health centre as a means by which to either give up, reduce or completely understand what is happening to their health through smoking.
The smoking policy will be debated at tonight's council meeting. It's yet to be considered whether the ban will apply to other council-owned premises, such as the Town Hall, the Creative Arts Centre and sporting pavilions.
Young people in the Bendigo region will soon be able to benefit from a Life Education mobile classroom. Life Education Bendigo Chairman Michael Curry says while the committee has tendered for a vehicle, at least $35,000 is still needed for the project.
For the past 3 years, Life Education Centre's Bendigo chapter has been campaigning to raise $200,000 for a mobile classroom. Chairman Michael Curry says the unit will soon be a reality as the committee has tendered to buy a bookmobile.
And we believe because of the design of that vehicle, it would be far more stronger and suit the purposes of travelling very vast distances that we'll be covering within the Bendigo area.
He says he should know by early December whether the tender has been successful. Mr Curry says the vehicle will travel throughout the region to teach primary school children about self-development, drug awareness and health issues. He says the Life Education Centre is still $35,000 short of its initial goal and will also need more money to fund the mobile classroom's operation.
Clubs out there or associations out there that might be in a position to give us help on an ongoing basis, we'd be very happy to hear from them too.
He says a public meeting will be held on Thursday evening at the R.L. Campbell Theatrette to discuss fundraising and future directions.
A new bridge over the Loddon River at Newstead is expected to alleviate flood problems. The $1.5 million structure will replace an old timber bridge built in the 1930s. Vic Roads in Ballarat is building the concrete bridge and it's expected to be finished by April next year. It's 152 metres long and cost $1.5 million. Quite a comparison to the old timber bridge now being used by about 2,000 vehicles a day.
It's going to help the flow of traffic through the town. It's on the Pyrenees Highway and at the intersection of the main road from Ballarat through Newstead and up through Maldon and Bendigo to the north. Carries a lot of commercial traffic and brings a lot of tourists through the town into Bendigo and the northern regions.
The federal government began the project with bicentennial funds last year, but state government money is now being used to finish the bridge. Heavy rains have delayed the project, but it's still expected to be finished on time.
The bridge will be a very important adjunct to the town. It's going to provide us with a link, hopefully for many years into the future, at the south end of the town over the Loddon River. It will also ease some of the flooding problems that have occurred there in the past when the river has been running at very high levels.
Despite the history attached to the old timber bridge, Bill Moore says residents don't object to its demolition. That's expected to happen when the new bridge is open for traffic.
After this break, judo's best on show in Bendigo.
And the machine built to be the fastest on water.
Toyota along all summer with great deals on the whole Toyota range from Castlemaine Toyota. Bill Warren can put you into your Toyota to start all that summer fun or serious driving. He can even get you into a pre-loved car, and a genuine Toyota service is just a call away. And remember, there's only one thing better than your own Toyota.
The only thing better than your own Toyota is your own Toyota from Castlemaine Toyota.
Good evening. Heading up sport tonight, Lake Eppalock here in central Victoria will be the testing ground for Australia's newest speedboat, the Endeavour. The $1 million project will be launched next month by Melbourne businessman Ron Burton, and the boat is destined to be the fastest in Australia this summer. Ron Burton has been involved in speedboat racing for more than 15 years now, and among his favourite boats have been Miss Bud, Aussie Bud and Aussie Connection. His boats have been in the forefront in many Griffith Cup meetings around Australia. Last year, Aussie Connection won the Griffith Cup in Sydney, and this year the New Zealand boat Latimer Lodge won the coveted trophy. But now, work is progressing smoothly on this unlimited class hydroplane called the Endeavour, the first of its type in the world. The building materials and boat building technology, with the emphasis on lack of weight, have been imported from the United States, Belgium and New Zealand. Ron Burton says the paintwork on Australia's new superboat will be completed this weekend, and then the boat will be fitted with a 3,000 horsepower Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. The first test run will take place on Lake Eppalock on Monday, the 20th of November. Bendigo will host the 1990 Victorian Judo Championships at the Eaglehawk Leisure Centre. Instructor at the Bendigo YMCA Judo Club, Wayne Swanton, says after years of staging the Central Victorian titles, the regional centre is now recognised as a judo capital.
Wayne Swanton says the decision to stage the state titles in a regional area is indicative of the sport's strength in Bendigo. After an unsuccessful meeting in Geelong 7 years ago, the National Judo Federation has been cautious, but Wayne Swanton says Bendigo has the resources.
We've already been able to host successfully for 3 years the Central Victorian Judo titles, and that's drawn a great number of people to Bendigo to witness judo, and the venue here is so very good, being Eaglehawk YMCA.
Recent gold medal wins in state and national judo championships have stood the club in good stead. Bendigo judo players were the largest contingent in the state titles earlier this year. Although judo players haven't been strongly represented in Australia, Wayne Swanton has a vision that'll change this tradition.
I believe, and I've always had the belief, that Bendigo can and will produce an Olympic representative for the Australian side.
But first things first, and these Bendigo players are currently training for the state titles on their home turf next May. Up to 80 Bendigo players will be competing in the titles.
To racing news now, and the New Zealander Horlicks heads the weights for next Wednesday's Nissan Australia Kyneton Cup. Club Secretary Gary Buckley reports a record 322 horses nominated for the 9-event program, including 55 for the Cup. The Spring Racing Carnival at Flemington takes a break next Wednesday for the time-honoured Kyneton Cup. The picturesque course is in magnificent condition at Kyneton for the big race, and among the nominations for the Cup this year are dual winner I'm a Red Man, the South Australian Cool Rocking Daddy, the Sydney-trained Improchetto, and the John Marr-trained Our Palliser, High Bailiff and Nairizzi. The Tasmanian galloper Nakajima will be flown over especially for the Cup. The final acceptances will close at 10 o'clock next Monday morning. And the Maryborough Harness Racing Club has received 281 nominations for their annual Cup meeting next Monday afternoon. Among the 29 entries for the Maryborough Cup are It's Motor Power, My Mazappa, Double Wipe, the Inter-Dominion winner Jodie's Babe and the Stall Cup winner Aberdeen. The final acceptances will close this Thursday morning. In football news, the reigning country champion Bendigo is to meet Western Border in the opening round of the 1990 Vic Health Country Football Championships. The opening round of the Rich Series will be played on the 5th of May. Last year's grand finalists Bendigo and Geelong have a favourable draw, and both look set to make it through to the semi-finals next June. Goulburn Valley faces a tough draw against the Ovens and Murray, whilst Wimmera hosts the Latrobe Valley. In the Division 2 draw, Murray, Ballarat and Mid-Murray all have a favourable draw in the series. North Central will be playing in 2nd Division for the first time after being relegated from the top division. Bendigo powerlifters have broken 4 state records and won 10 individual titles at the Victorian Country Powerlifting Championships. Local lifter Shane Charter smashed a 5-year-old state record by 15 kilos, deadlifting a massive 300 kilograms in the under-23 100-kilo class.
The country championships are a chance for the region's powerlifters to show their true strength. Despite Bendigo finishing second in the team's event, local lifters were in top form. Angela Tunzi broke 2 records, squatting 92.5 kilos and bench pressing 50 kilos. Fellow lifter Debbie Rosen broke an open class record by squatting 112.5 kilos. Den Morby recorded a squat of 282 kilos in the 100 kilo class. Jeanette Wust won the Best Female Lifter trophy in the 44 kilogram class, and in the men's section, Greg McKay was runner-up as the Best Male Lifter. The Bendigo lifters are now in training for the Interclub contest here in December.
And Paul, for tonight, that's all in sport.
Thanks very much, Alan. Well, today's changeable weather has been depicted by tonight's school skywatch artist, 7-year-old Paula Roberts from Kundruk Primary School. I'll be back after the break with the Bureau's forecast.
You got pizzazz and all of that jazz. You're a reason to smile. You got a mood that makes me feel good. You know you're just my style. You got love, yeah. You are a reason to smile. Strap Village, you know that you're just my style.
Well, it might have been a little cool today, but at least we saw a break in the rain, although there were showers last night. Overnight, Oyen, Swan Hill and Deniliquin all had a low of 9. Kerrang 8, Echuca 11, Shepparton, Donald and Bendigo 8, Maryborough 5, Castlemaine and Seymour 6, and Ballarat 3 degrees. Today, Oyen reached 19, Swan Hill, Deniliquin, Kerrang and Echuca all 18, Shepparton and Donald 17, Bendigo and Maryborough 16, Castlemaine 15, Seymour 16 and Ballarat 13 degrees. Looking at the chart, and the cold front which passed through Victoria overnight brought us some more rain during the early hours of the morning. It moved through fairly rapidly, and another cold front following should not have much influence on our weather. It should slip away to the southeast. There is a large anticyclone approaching from the west, which should bring us some fine and warm conditions for the rest of the week and give the farmers a chance to bale some of that hay. The forecast for all areas: cool to mild with moderate southwesterly winds. Temperature ranges: Bendigo 7 to 20, Swan Hill and Shepparton 7 to 21 and Ballarat 7 to 15. The outlook for Thursday, fine and mild. For Friday, mild to warm. And for Saturday, continuing warm. Currently at the studios, it's 12 degrees and the barometer reads 1,008 hectopascals and rising.
The build-up to Bendigo's biggest race day of the year has started. The champagne flowed at the Bendigo racecourse today, and this year's Cup Fashions went on show.
When singer Noel Watson agreed to perform at the annual Miradong Champagne and Turkey Luncheon, he thought at least a few blokes would turn up for moral support. Instead, he was alone among 400 women. But then Noel wasn't the main attraction. That was reserved for the catwalks. What's in for the Bendigo Cup this year is vibrant colours. Hats should be basic straw with a bright scarf, and sunglasses have moved from an accessory to a necessity. After absorbing all that culture in one hit, Noel Watson made his fashion statement.
Well, if they've got any sense, I'll wear T-shirts and shorts and thongs, because I think the rain might stop and it could come out warm, and that's what I'd go for.
Well, that's all from the news desk for tonight. Before we go recapping our top story, a 49-year-old woman is in Bendigo Base Hospital with serious injuries after a collision between a sports car and a truck. And 20 textile workers at Perfect Fit in Bendigo have been retrenched, and company management says there may be more. Stand by now for National News on Radio from Melbourne. I'll be back later in the evening with News Update. From all of us, good night.